Hello, everyone, and welcome to another LifeWave Business Connect webinar for the month of July 2026. My name is Gonzalo Pinheiro, and I am the Iberian Sales Manager for LifeWave, and it's my pleasure to be your host today. One of the greatest indicators of long term success in our business is not simply the size of our organization, but the ability to develop leaders who can grow, inspire, and duplicate success themselves. Today's topic speaks directly to that principle: leadership that multiplies, how to develop emerging leaders. To guide us through this important discussion, I am delighted to introduce two outstanding leaders from Portugal, Paulo and Liliana Alves. Paulo and Liliana are LifeWave three-star executives and valued members of our European Advisory Board. Before joining LifeWave, they built an extraordinary career in the direct selling profession, dedicating nearly 2 decades to developing teams and helping people achieve greater freedom and success. Their reputation has always been built on integrity, consistency, and genuine care for others. They officially launched their LifeWave business in December 2023 and have since then built one of the fastest growing organizations in Europe. Their success comes not only from achieving results themselves, but from empowering others to become leaders and create success for their own families and communities. Both Paulo and Liliana bring a unique combination of business experience, leadership expertise, and a deep commitment to personal growth. Their journey is a powerful example of what can happen when vision, purpose, and action come together. I know you will gain valuable insights from their experience and practical strategies for identifying, developing, and empowering the next generation of leaders within your organization. Please join me in welcoming Paulo and Liliana Alves. Paulo and Liliana, thank you so much for joining us today and speaking about this such an important topic, such as leadership and how to create a leadership that can duplicate. So please share with us your insights, and the microphone is yours.
Hello, everyone. Look, for us, it is a great privilege to be here speaking to all the people worldwide at LifeWave to give a little a summary of our story. Yes, how we developed as leaders and how we seek to be leaders. And answering your question, Gonzalo, which is a question of great responsibility, I consider it a great responsibility. We were here a few days ago compiling what we believe is important for a leader and how to find leaders. And I think the main point here is that we believe that quality will come from quantity. And we also believe that many leaders end up being born on their own, just like us. We didn't have a plan when we were born into this industry 18 years ago. We didn't have anyone who found us. We found ourselves. We discovered something in ourselves that we didn't know yet, which is developing leadership skills. And there are some factors here that we will talk about today, which are decisive in helping to inspire other leaders, because birds of a feather flock together. And we also believe that an ember away from the fire goes out. So that is what we have created over these 18 years. It was a community to discover leaders, and we are going to share some of our secrets here, aren't we, honey?
Exactly. And our story taught us, because I often say that we all have moments in life where we sink and become suffering victims, or we spread our wings and fly and become apprentice heroes. And we decided, because of what happened to us 20 years ago, right, that I went into the hospital with a missed miscarriage. We lost our first child, and because of that miscarriage, I contracted a hospital bacteria that caused me to have sepsis, and I was in a coma for 30 days. But during those 30 days, in my silence in intensive care, I thought I have to get better at breathing. I have to improve, keep the I don't know what it was, but I always thought about getting better. And fortunately, I had doctors in intensive care who demanded that of me. And I felt the commitment. And Paulo out here was also fighting to keep the faith alive. Yes, that I would make it out of there alive. So this resilience of ours to endure the pain and go through this process of pain with the learning that okay, it's hard, but it will get better. It will get better with hope, with faith.
Yes, resilience is a determining factor that we always try to pass on to future leaders or potential leaders. It is one of the most decisive points in a leader, being resilient, because they will work a lot with rejection. I remember on the first day that the doctors came to me saying that Liliana would die that day, that she had a 3% chance of survival, and then I had to sign a paper because that night she would either die or they would have to remove her uterus. I told the doctors I did not believe what he was telling me. I told them she would survive and they would not remove her uterus, and he did not give me that option. He only gave me two options. Either she died or they had to remove her uterus. I gave the doctor a third option. I said, "Doctor, I will wait here at the door of this hospital long enough for Liliana to walk out of here on her own, 2 feet, and we will have children." And that is what happened.
He signed the papers for them to remove my uterus, but fortunately they didn't. And today we have two wonderful children.
What you believe, what you live, the energy you transmit, it infects other people. And I think I infected those doctors. The fact that I stayed there at the door for 30 days put, in a way, some pressure on them for them to also want to do their best. It was a positive energy. It was a different energy that was there.
Because by conveying faith, hope, when we as a community have faith, have hope, believe, and fight in the same direction, fighting for the same goal, circumstances change. I put my first photograph here of me sitting on a stretcher. The person in front of me was my first physical therapist because I couldn't walk. Yes, I didn't. And notice I was there with a smile despite my total disability because I practically couldn't move. But the two of us, she and I, reached a moment where I said, I will manage to walk again, even when it seemed impossible at the time. So, with this, I want to tell you that things may seem impossible. The circumstances are difficult, but a leader is someone who looks at the circumstances and looks at the environment, even if others don't believe, even if the doctors told Paulo that I was going to die, because I had a 3% chance of survival, according to what the doctors said. Faced with this impossibility, we must remain firm in faith, in hope, and believe that tomorrow will be better. The photo on the right, sitting in that armchair, that was when I woke up from the coma, and they put me there. What was my future? I did not know what is your future going to be. You do not know what tomorrow will bring. You only know the here and now. And the here and now is what we must make the best of, with the means we have. Of course, if you do not have a jet to go from Portugal to the United States, you will not go by jet. But if your goal is to make that journey, you have to realize what means you have to achieve that goal of yours.
And you can join a Zoom. Nowadays, you don't need a jet to go to the United States. We can join a Zoom like this one and do it. We just have to be resilient. We just have to develop this skill. I hope that none of you have to develop this skill in a hospital like we did, right? In other words, we developed this skill, which is super important for leadership in a hospital, and we realized the importance of staying firm with a positive attitude, even when circumstances told us that things were not okay.
Constant. A leader is someone who decides to be constant, resiliently constant. Paulo for 30 days is here. The trailer at the bottom of that image, the trailer where Paulo slept for 30 days, in the cold, without being able to shower, without being able to eat properly, except for the food his parents brought him or his friends brought him. consistency, firm, because we want results very quickly. We want to reach the ranking very quickly, and success loves speed, but we have to be firm and constant. We cannot be like the waves of the sea which come and go. We cannot be lukewarm. Either we are hot or we are cold, but we are constant.
Yeah, and let's move on to the next skill, which is super important, which is point number 2, in our opinion, of what it is to be a leader and how to find leaders. Actually, our example, our attitude, will do the filtering for us to find leaders. And the next point that I think is fundamental is having an extraordinary mindset. It has to be a mindset unreachable, that it reminds me of that story of the little frog that we tell our team a lot, that he doesn't hear no's, he doesn't hear negative people. All the people who might be talking around him are people who are motivating him. Actually, they aren't. He is completely deaf. He goes straight to the point and will reach his goals no matter how. What matters is doing what needs to be done with the conditions he has. And Cristiano Ronaldo's attitude, which is a great example for us of a Portuguese man who truly overcame all difficulties and today has already been considered the best player in the world several times, is a great example for us. He's always the first to arrive at training and the last to leave. So what we have developed over these 18 years was we wanted to develop our mindset. And we also bet a lot on the mindset of our team. In our team, we bet a lot on personal development, on the inspiration of people who can create inspiration, because we believe that it is all here. It is all here. It is all in our mindset. Yes, a leader must have an extraordinary mindset. How do they develop this mindset? On their own, like us, or with the help of another leader who can inspire them. So that is what we try to do, to duplicate, to find leaders and develop leaders, which is to invest heavily in our events in the area of personal development, because we believe that our paycheck grows when we grow too. So this is another fundamental point, and Liliana is someone who loves, for example, to read, right? How do you develop this part of yourself and your mindset?
Yeah, because we have to use the tools that are within our reach. I like to read because I can understand that through reading, it inspires me to people who are audible. Listen. Listen to podcasts, because through listening, there is learning, there is inspiration. We cannot just wait for someone to knock on our door and bring us change, a change in vision, a change in understanding, yes, a change in attitude. We cannot just wait, so we have to go after it. So I like to read because through books we can understand where we are and where we can improve or what we can change. So reading for me is very important. Paulo loves listening to podcasts because a mind that expands never shrinks back again. There are people who might tell me it is brainwashing. It might even be brainwashing because we are programmed to live in a system, in a process that imprisons us, that constrains us. So, for us to broaden this vision, for us to broaden our mindset, our personal development, our emotional intelligence, our control over our emotions is truly very important.
I always tell our team, I was very bad 18 years ago. I had a panic of speaking in public. I had a panic of doing this online conference. I could not do it. I simply couldn't do it. The first time they asked me to give a 30-minute training, I spoke for 30 seconds. I said, "Hello, good afternoon. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you all so much." That was my training 18 years ago. So I developed this skill through personal development because within our brains, statistics say we use a very small percentage, maybe 10% of our capabilities. So I realized that for me to develop this skill, I had to grow in terms of personal development as well. That was our bet throughout these 8 years. And you also have to be a visionary, right? And you are an expert in this area that Liliana loves, the dream board, right?
And I will tell you a secret. It is free. We do not pay anything for this. Being a visionary is about us desiring, visualizing. It is experiencing, having an experience even without it having happened yet. And I learned this in a hospital bed because when I woke up from the coma, I remember having a conversation with our pastor, and he said to me, Liliana, you have to close your eyes and you have to imagine yourself running, walking. And I was like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And he said to me, just close your eyes and imagine yourself on a road, walking, running. And even today, I have that image engraved in my mind, me running on a road with trees overhead and me running with my arms wide open. This is
When we started in our industry, I remember that the first thing Liliana did was draw her vision board.
It was because then I learned that from the moment we visualize it in our minds, we must make it visible. So we are always seeing it, always reminding our minds of what we desire, of what we want to achieve, and it happens and it comes true. The first big lesson we had was that the doctors said we couldn't have children. They didn't remove my uterus, but they said it couldn't handle another pregnancy. And the first dream board was a little book I carried in my bag. I put up pictures of babies, and look at this detail. Coincidentally, I put up pictures of babies with blue ribbons, and today we have 2 sons.
So the power of a vision is supernatural. And when we apply these concepts to the team, these concepts, they will automatically create leaders because the leaders will be inspired. They will discover something within themselves that they don't know yet, which is also a lot of personal development and the example, right? For us to find leaders, we have to be the example too. Although we strongly believe that quantity leads to quality and that leaders are also born on their own. And that is what happened to us in the beginning, right? And then a leader, and now let's move on to the part about your question, Gonzalo, which is how to find leaders. What we do every single day, is find 5 potential leaders. 5 potential leaders. In other words, what is it that we do? We tell our entire team, if they have someone interesting, that they see a person with an attitude who is a potential leader, to connect them with us. Or we ourselves, right, with our direct recruits, we have about 400 first-generation people that we have signed up. What else do? We follow up with these people 5 a day with their back office report on what is missing for the next step. Giving examples, right? For instance, we have an example here of a 3-star manager who is on their way to director. What are we going to tell them? Look, you have 2,970 points right now. Let's say today is the start of the week, for example, and by Sunday you can reach 5,000 points. What do you need to do? Enroll in certain packages, Advanced Plus, the premium, for example, and give them practical examples of what they need to do or help us create a manager. In other words, we are constantly. This is like driving a car at night and turning on the lights. You can only see 200 meters. A leader, they don't need to see the whole path right away. If you tell him how to reach the in-person event, he won't understand. But if you give him the next step for the next rank with practical examples, and also, very importantly, we do 5 a day. 5 people, potential leaders. We are constantly helping them every single day. Define your number. This is our number. Our team is already very large and we have this number in our heads. But for example, in your case, you might not even have leaders yet. You are still looking for them, right? Yeah, so you can do 1 a day. Try to find someone on your team who you think has potential and guide that person on what they need to do to take the next step. And they start to understand it too. We have now this month, for example, 2 people who emerged in our team. They don't have much time. They don't have, let's say, great network marketing skills, but they have something important. Perhaps they have all these points we are going over here, and we are constantly sending them what they need to do to reach the next step. Because they may have potential, but they might not understand how to move up, for example, in rank. And we are constantly doing a follow-up, 5 per day, and you have to discover your number.
And in this follow-up, it is very important that you go to the events with your team. You quickly identify a person who has the drive, who is a fighter, and who wants to make it happen when they join you at the events. Because at events, you see other stories, other testimonies, and the person is making it happen in their team. So what you see is you invite a person to an event and they go to another event and another. That person is the leader of their own life.
And it is also important to confirm if these people are in your team's WhatsApp groups or in the Facebook group, the group you created, let's say, where you have your whole team there as a community. Also check if they want to go to the next international event, which will be in California, right? For example, these two people we are following are already almost qualified to win the California promotion. It is to be with David Schmidt, a private meeting with David Schmidt, that is, and to be at Disney. In other words, we try, through this follow-up, to verify all the fundamental points that can, in some way, put the person in an inspired mode and have access to the best that the company can offer in terms of events as well. Zooms too. We have several Zooms. Practically every day there is a team Zoom. So involving people, in the basic daily income generating activities of the team. And I always remember at the hospital what we learned was the importance of basic daily income generating tasks. When Liliana was in a coma, I went every day to give her a foot massage. I knew she liked it.
Which
The doctor said that maybe she could feel or hear it, but she didn't say anything. I didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I did it every day, even
Even without
even
results.
without results.
You know, that expression of no results, I am not seeing results, but I kept on doing it.
So I did my follow-up with Liliana, right? Every day I did the basic daily tasks. It is super important to have basic daily tasks that generate income, not just for you to grow your business, like, for example, finding leaders, right? Because leaders, you might have leaders in your team, on your team, but they haven't been identified yet. Maybe they need a push, or maybe not.
Or from an invitation, or it's from an incentive.
Yeah, and the last point, which is super important, is that everything you do has to be duplicatable. In leadership, to duplicate leadership, duplication is essential. And I and Liliana, our main concern is what we are doing duplicatable. If it is not, it does not matter.
If it's not, we don't do it.
So it is very important to understand this fundamental point. It is about developing leaders or finding leaders, because if things are too complicated, it is the process. I remember when we started 18 years ago, they explained to us a super practical growth chart that automatically entered our minds. It was something super duplicable, and these simple processes created Paulo and Liliana because we realized it was easy to achieve. If we make things too complicated, if we turn on the complexity, things are much harder to achieve. So, we have believed in this first concept from the very first minute we have been at this conference. Quantity will bring quality. There are leaders who will emerge on their own. There are others who might need to feel an example of leadership. Then, there are 3 fundamental points. We always talk to our team. Never miss a promotion, right? The company, fortunately, has several promotions running and instills that spirit, because that spirit will lead to basic daily income generating activities, and leaders will end up emerging from the quantity. From the quantity, quality will come. Never miss an event, like Liliana was saying. Always talk to potential leaders, take them to events, especially the international ones, like the one in California. Our convention in October will be truly incredible. You cannot miss it for anything, and you must talk to your entire team to be in California with the whole Life 5 community worldwide. It will be incredible. You will be with David Schmidt and the entire global leadership. And it will be truly incredible. And also, the third point that we always tell our team is to never miss an incentive trip.
Woohoo,
Throughout
they're
18
wonderful.
years of our career, we have never missed an incentive trip, okay? But what if we lose? It does not matter at all. Either
We
we
learn.
win the trip or we learn. We are learning. Because if we try to qualify for an incentive trip, we are developing skills, we are learning faster, we are training. The Cristiano Ronaldo attitude, right? Entering training and leaving training. First to arrive, last to leave. In other words, We are training, we are trying, and if we don't reach it, we are learning faster. And that is what we have always done. Throughout 18 years, we have never missed an incentive trip, okay? Yeah, and basically these are our fundamental points of our strategy of what we do and what we instill in people, and that quality will come from quantity. That is what we believe. It is just our experience. It is what we believe in. These are the 5 fundamental points to find leaders and develop them, using, obviously, our massive action.
And remember, we must be servant leaders. We will never be able to find in others what we ourselves struggle to have, because our work always ends up being a mirror effect. What we are is what we attract. So if we are inert, if we do nothing, that is what we will attract. But if we are in motion, we will attract people who also want to be in motion. So thank you all.
Thank you for the invitation. It is for us a great responsibility and a privilege to be here sharing something. It has been 18 intense years developing these 5 important points in a leader and how to find leaders. And that amidst the quantity, quality will come, they will appear naturally. Kisses to
Bye.
everyone, and thank you for the invitation.